Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello, my renegades, and we are back. I told you I'll be back in quick succession. I'm all go here today, all go. But anyway, we are back for Married at First Sight UK Series 8, and we are now on episode 3. Before we get into that, as I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I am back on and doing videos. And let's talk about this episode, shall we? Because a lot of hoo-ha went on, didn't it? I mean, the honeymoon started, so I was like, let's see what drama awaits us. Let's see what drama awaits us on these honeymoons. So the first couples that we know are Jay and Luke, Ella and Nathaniel, Roz and Thomas, I think that's all, and Laura and Arthur. Had to look at my notes then because I absolutely forgot about Laura and Arthur. So everything at the moment with them all was starting off okay. And that's all I'm going to start with so far. It was starting off okay. And then we see Thomas and Roz, because while the others have gone to like hot destinations, Thomas and Roz have gone to a colder destination in terms of they've gone to a skiing resort, which I would love, to be fair, because I really want to do snowboarding. So I would honestly love going to a winter resort. I know people say, oh, well, don't you think it'd be quite cold because it's quite cold in the UK? Why would you go from cold to cold? But I've heard it say that you don't necessarily feel the cold in those places. Now, people can come on and correct me if I'm wrong, or they can agree with me, but I've heard it say that within those places like Switzerland, X, Y, and Z, it's not necessarily all that cold. You don't really feel the cold all that much. But I've run away myself. Let me bring it back. Let me bring it back. So, as Roz and Thomas is going through the chalet, I shall call it the chalet, and there's two separate rooms. There's one room downstairs and one room upstairs. So Thomas is there singing attributes about the room itself, like, this is perfect, that's perfect, that's perfect. What more could you ask for? And Roz throws in a perfect wife, and my man went quiet. I was like, he went quiet, and I was like, you couldn't just banter back with the girl. You may not see her as your perfect wife right now, but you're telling me that you couldn't just at least banter back with the girl so she didn't feel like shit when she said the perfect wife and you went quiet, like, I mean, come on, Thomas, come on. Then we see Jay and Luke, and of course they're getting on like a house on fire. Like, they're still making each other laugh. They're checking out the hotel room, and their room literally wanders off straight onto the beach, and it's absolute, all I can say, it's gorgeous. And the heat as well, they're in the heat. It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous where they are. And you also see Ella and Nathaniel, actually they're getting on well with each other. There's been no issues that have come up thus far, and I will say thus far we will get there, and we will talk about situations. Okay. So then we get into the issue that is Roz and Thomas, where Thomas is just making small talk. It's not too awkward, but it is kind of awkward-ish, because Roz goes really quiet. Half the time it doesn't really say anything back to him. As I said from the last episode, she's wanting that touch from him. She's wanting either a quick hug, this, that, and the other, and he's not ready for that yet. He's not at that stage yet. But at the end of the day, what he still needs to realize is that your wife is asking you to fulfill something. At the end of the day, she's asking you to fulfill something for her, and you're not doing that. You're not listening to what she's saying in order to fulfill a gap or a need that she's expressing to you. And then it's also, as further on through the episode, when he turns around and basically calls her literally a stranger. I understand that they're strangers. That's what they signed up for, because that's what arranged marriages are all about at the end of the day. So I understand that they're strangers and they have to build their connection. But this is the person that you've married. This is now your wife. So then for you to turn around and say that you are a stranger to him, with her no way of trying to work with the situation that you are both in, isn't then fair to Roz. Like, that's how I see it. It isn't then fair to Roz. And then we move on to Ella and Nathaniel. Now, Nathaniel's starting to get some misgivings in regards to Ella. So basically, he's believing that Ella is a little bit too extrovert, and he's worried that she's too loud. And I'm just like, but you kind of knew she was this way from the wedding, from the time you've seen each other. She's expressive. She's very expressive, and she very much puts herself out there, and she's this loud, gregarious type of woman. That's who she is. But to use that against her a little bit as a little bit of a pet peeve for yourself is a little bit off. And I hope Nathaniel can move past that and get to know the person who Ella is behind all of that as well. Because there may be situations or things that she doesn't necessarily like about him, but she isn't going to use that as a barrier in order to get to know him in that sense. So he's saying that he's quite a quiet person and quite laid back. He's kind of non-assuming. But I'm like, and she's the complete opposite. And what? Like, and what? But as time went on between them two, we know that this was leading. It was leading into something else. So the first issue that comes up for Ella and Nathaniel is the fact that Ella hasn't had that all-consuming kiss from him. Basically, he hasn't slugged her face off, and she doesn't understand why, because she kind of got it from the wedding, but since they've been on a honeymoon, he hasn't been that type of person with her, and that's what she's wanting. But he's of the view, like he said to her, that he's focused on getting to know her before he starts setting himself down that role. He wants to know her as a person first before he starts the physicality of their relationship at the end of the day. Because some people will say that kissing is more intimate than actually having the act, if you get my meaning. But he does open up to her a little bit. He does open up to her a little bit in terms of this is how he works, and he wants her to be on board with that. So you see Jay and Luke still getting on with each other, but you see the insecurities as well start to come in for Jay in regards to hoping that he fancies her. She's got to also get out of her own way. I understand she has had freaking horrendous experience because of her disability and the way that in which she was bullied as a kid, as a child, and she's had to deal with that time and time again, and the way in which men have treated her, especially when it came to the dating scene. And again, she's had to deal with that time and time again. So I understand where her securities come from, but she's got this man who has basically said that he likes her, likes her, he really likes her, and he fancies the pants off her. And as we know, them two did the old fandango. They did the horizontal mambo at the end of the day. So yes, I understand some people can do that without having that connection with a person. It's just an act to them. But with Luke, I don't think that is the case. If he really did not want to do something, he would not have done something at the end of the day. And he's showing her that, yes, I do like you. So I think at some point, Jay is kind of going to have to step out of her own way. So then we see Arthur and Laura. And we know that Laura is going to confront Arthur about the fact in regards to his vows, because basically she's seen as he didn't put no effort into her whatsoever in regards to their wedding, and she doesn't want that to be the start of what their wedding is going to be. Now, I understood her point at the end of the day, because it wouldn't take you much, even though you didn't know her. You're talking to your prospective wife. You're talking to your wife. So he should have come up with some good enough vows. Like, we know he can do it. I don't know why his first thought was the internet. And then she literally, it was kind of like with Laura, pulling teeth, like going around the reeking. Yes, she was asking him the questions, but I think she was asking him the questions to basically so she doesn't have to ask him directly, to see if he will actually come forward and tell her without her having to ask him directly, did you get the vows off the internet? So she basically asked him, and he did admit it. And basically she told him how she felt about that, and then he basically said that he was being someone that he wasn't, and she wants to see the person that he is, which isn't a big ask to make, basically, because she's writing how she can trust him to be the person that he says he is, if the first day that you meet each other, going to be married, you're freaking using vows that you got off the internet and then you lie about it? Is that then going to be the deciding factor in regards to how she then sees you? So then he's taken on board what she said and said, okay, he took on board what she said and was making those changes when they were basically getting to know each other. Now, my girl, Laura, was starting to see the attributes of Arthur when Arthur was being tennis coach. When Arthur was being tennis coach and showed her something that he was passionate in and confident in, oh, that made her panties go twisty, wetty, wetty. Gave her the flutters. You know he gave her the flutters, because there's nothing as sexy as seeing someone confident and in their element. That's all I'm going to say. Nothing as sexy as seeing someone confident and in their element, and you getting to witness them in all their glory when they're doing the shit that they love. And then when they went to dinner, I know I'm jumping ahead of myself because there's a lot of other stuff that I'm going to be talking about as well, but as I said, I go here, there and everywhere when it comes to my videos, because there's points that I make that I want to talk about and discuss and continue as I'm talking about the couples at hand. And when they went to the dinner, he literally sat and said, I've took on board what you said and I want to read you my vows that I should have read that day. I've rewrote them. And it was absolutely brilliant. Like, I thought she was going to cry. His vows were so heartfelt and you could tell the difference. He wasn't nervous when he said them. He was confident and he just wanted her to know where his thoughts were, because Arthur wants to make this work with Laura. He really fancies Laura. And I think with Laura, as she's getting to know him bit by bit, she's starting to like him that little bit more. And I think that put another peg into the slot in terms of her seeing this person for the first time and starting to like him that little bit more. That and the laughs that they had when he was giving her the old clay massage helped as well, because they were just absolutely laughing with each other. And I have to say, at the moment, Laura's making me see her in a different light. From the way she started off to the way she's carrying on now, she's making me see her in a different light. So we see that Roz and Thomas are still having their difficulties, and she's basically saying that she's never had it before where she's woken up, both slept in the same bed, and she said when she touched him by accident, he literally moved away from her and literally went to the edge of the bed. And my thought is, there's 2 bedrooms in that chalet. There's 2 bedrooms. If you really well and truly didn't want to sleep with a girl, you could have went somewhere else rather than make her feel like an absolute fucking ditz in going into bed with you and feeling so insecure when she went in that bed with you that one touch and you moved right to the edge of the bed. That's weird. And this is why I say people really need to deal with their, especially Thomas has been in an abusive relationship, he really needs to deal with how that has then impacted on him and how that then impacts on him and the person that he's then getting to know and wanting to be with, because this situation that he's going on right now cannot continue, because it's going to end up losing Roz completely. It's going to end up losing Roz completely, because she is only going to take it so far before she gets to a point where she's going to think, I'm not going to keep trying anymore for you to keep kicking it back in my face, basically, because of how you've been hurt. At the end of the day, Roz has her own insecurities, and Roz is trying to work towards something, at least trying to gain and some type of attraction to this man, but she's not going to get any attraction to this man if he keeps fucking kicking her back the way that he does. So then it quickly moves back to Ella and Nathaniel and the issues that are starting to really be apparent with them two, to the point where they go to this place where they decide to, I think it's a cliff jump. Well, not necessarily a cliff jump, but Ella is saying that she didn't realise that they have to literally jump into a hole. And as they're getting ready for this, Ella's like really panicking and like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. And she's been quite loud and like off the cuff. And when they go to the VC and they're talking to Nathaniel, like, I think she's giving him the ick. That's all I can see it as. The way his face was. And when he was talking about her, that she thinks that she's being over the top and she's doing this for the cameras, that's where his thought is. And I think it's literally turning him off her, like seriously turning him off her, to the point where, as he said, he thinks she's there just for the entertainment and she's not there for him, and he doesn't like it at all, because he's trying to say that she is one way when they are together, and then a different way when they're in front of cameras or with other people. She can become flamboyant, she can become loud, she can and he's not that way. He's not that way at all he wants to know is get to know the girl that she is, but he thinks that she's not allowing him to do that, because his barrier is the fact that she's so extroverted, she's so loud when they're in mixed company, and he don't like that in any way, shape or form. So basically he's got to the point where I really think he's getting the ick with her, like seriously getting the ick with her. And with these two, it goes from bad to worse, because Ella is feeling the tension or some type of something coming from him, because basically what she wants is a kiss from him, and he's still trying to explain to her why he will not feed into kissing her the way that she wants to be kissed, because he wants to get to know her on a friendship level. And basically what she doesn't want is for them to be she wants the friendship level, she understands that, but she doesn't want them to stay on that friendship level. She wants them to progress to where they are actually being husband and wife, because right now she doesn't feel that they're not connecting how they did at the wedding. So basically these two start to have one hell of an argument. They've had a couple of arguments on this honeymoon, to be fair, and I'm just like, do the producers or the people filming don't to a point step in and say, okay, maybe you two need a breather, go off, think about things, and then come back, or get someone to actually go and talk to them to see what it is that they're going through, and see if they can then have a common ground to come back and talk to each other. Because the way in which they let these two just literally duke it out verbally, I think was horrible. It was horrible to watch. That's all I can say. It was horrible to watch these two people literally duking it out verbally, to the point where Ella's literally getting abusive in terms of her language and terminology, by calling him a prick, by calling him all these other names, and he's asked her not to call him a prick and this, that and the other, and then she walks off and then calls him another name, and I'm just like, this is not good. To me, drama, okay, I understand it's the level of drama, but to me, myself, the way I felt, that wasn't good viewing to me, because that was literally watching two people rip shreds out of each other. They weren't listening to each other. All they were doing was shouting over each other, and it could have been a triggering moment for some people watching that, like serious triggering moment for some people watching that. And I just thought someone at least should have stepped in at that point and actually spoke to both of them. Now, we know that they won't show us everything, like show us the discussions and everything that all these people have when they're on their honeymoons together. So apparently it comes out that basically he thinks that Ella's just a big liar. And we're all sitting down, because I was sitting there thinking, a liar, what has she done? What's happened here? And she didn't even get it in that sense. So he's turned around to her and basically outed her in regards to the fact that she used to be a stripper. Now, my thing is one, she says she told you that in confidence when you were having a conversation, and she's an ex-stripper, she's not a stripper no more, and she told you that in confidence. And number two, why in the hell would you put that out there? Because her family or friends may not have known that part information, and you threw that at her on freaking TV. I thought that was a bit fucked up on Nathaniel's part, to be fair. And then you walk off and leave her in absolute devastation that you throw in something that she said to you in confidence back in her face. You didn't give her the actual temerity to say, let's have a conversation about this and where this is coming from. Not to being, you walked off and you left her, and she's in absolute bits, in absolute tears. So basically what she wanted to do with that conversation, first and foremost, was apologise to him for calling him names, which she did. Now, I knew that this conversation was not going to go anywhere in terms of her apology and in terms of her talking about the situation at hand and her issues and X, Y and Z, because Nathaniel was just sitting there and just staring off. He was listening, kind of listening, but he wasn't going to give her no grace in any way, shape or form. and then he retaliated with what she told him in confidence. I thought that was a bit of a bit of a dick move, to be fair. That was a bit of an uncalled for move on Nathaniel's part. But as again, this is circumstantial because as again, we don't know what the conversations have been during all that time that they have been together. We don't get to see everything that goes on. We also don't get to see how they are together without the camera crew, so we don't know if he's telling the truth or not. That, you know what, she's one person when she's with him and it's just them two, and then she's another person when the camera crew is there and other people when they're in mixed company. So basically he's trying to say that there's two Ellas, and he really doesn't want to get to know the Ella she is in mixed company. He wants to get to know the Ella that they are when they're together, basically, not the flamboyant Ella. But yeah, just absolutely went tits up for them two. From a good start to the honeymoon, showed where the absolute clear gaps were in their communication, and two, how they view each other. So it ended with them being in separate rooms, and Ella did go down to dinner and did ask him as well if he could join her at dinner, and so they could actually talk or find some type of common ground. Now I thought that was big of her to do, but I thought it was piss poor behaviour that he decided that he didn't want to. So he stayed in his room and had dinner and left her there waiting for him. So then she walked off and she was upset by that, understandably so, because I wouldn't want to be bloody jilted by someone like that. If you've got an issue with us two in terms of our relationship, and yes, you said something to me and you freaking walked off and that's how you've left it and you've left me devastated, then I'm being the bigger person by actually coming to you and saying, can we come together so we can have this conversation in an adult way? Hopefully without the argument and the shouting and the effing and jeffing, in an adult way. And then if you can't see past your own arsehole and you've decided now you don't want to, and then you have dinner up there, then you could have at least sent a message to her and said, I'm sorry, I'm not accepting your invitation because of X, Y, and Z. He did absolutely nothing. He just stayed in his room and had his meal, and she had to sit there and wait to find out that he wasn't coming. So then we go to another couple who are literally just not connecting properly, and Roz is not happy at all, and she's telling Thomas that she's not happy at all. And I'm just like, Thomas, you need to let down this barrier. Like, you need to listen to what she's saying. And it isn't until it's coming to the end of, like, I think the honeymoon, that he actually listens to what she's saying in regards to the fact of how she's thinking and feeling. Because at the end of the day, she is the one, because he's like, you're not giving me any signals that this is what you want. My guy, she's verbally telling you what she wants. How is she not giving you signals when she's literally telling you in your face what she wants? What did you want? Something to be slapped across your cheek and be imprinted across your face for you to look in the mirror and see it? And this is why I think, why do these types of people really sign up for these shows? Like, really sign up for these shows? And do they not realise that us as the public are watching how they interact and get with these people? And then if you then decide that you don't want to stay married to that person, then are you really going to find someone on the outside of all of this experiment to literally give it a go with you if they've watched this show? Because it's not going to instill them with confidence that you're going to be able to meet their needs. Is it really? So my lovely lot, that is where I'm going to leave it for this episode, but I'll be back in quick succession with the next. So as I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so you know when I am back on and doing videos. And I will speak to you all again soon, you lovely lot. Peace out.